South Africa is left in shock and dismay this evening upon confirmation that 92 new arrest warrants have been issued reportedly against some of the most senior and influential members of the African National Congress ANC. The news has shook the country's political system to its core, with the ruling party left trying to contain the fallout as furious citizens call for open accountability and transparency. Before diving into the complete details, viewers are encouraged to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications because this unfolding political storm has the potential to completely reshape South Africa's power structure and expose the hidden machinery of corruption that has haunted the nation for decades. Based on several investigative sources, the National Prosecuting Authority, NPA, has prepared a secret list of 92 people allegedly implicated in current investigations involving corruption, fraud, and money laundering. The warrants, which were first supposed to be kept under seal until they were official arrests, were leaked to the media last night, setting off a nationwide political crisis that nobody anticipated. A high-ranking law enforcement source characterized the move as one of the biggest and most integrated anti-corruption crackdowns in the history of South Africa, remarking that no one at the top is above the law anymore. Those on the list include former cabinet ministers, provincial premiers, and high-ranking ANC leaders implicated in being involved in rigged tenders, offshore money transfers, and massive looting of state funds. Acts for which billions of rands have allegedly been siphoned off from the coffers of the public purse intended for the common man. When news of the leak broke, pandemonium swept through the corridors of Latuli House, the headquarters of the ANC. Witnesses said there were scenes of sheer panic as top members made desperate calls to lawyers, allies, and relatives. The atmosphere within the party was complete panic. A source disclosed. Some of the leaders are shaking in their boots, thinking their names are on the list, and some already know they are. Reports say an emergency session was held shortly after midnight to discuss what insiders have referred to as the biggest political crisis since the Jacob Zuma era, an era already legendary for state capture and systemic graft. While the NPA has not published the list, several journalists say they have confirmed parts of it using independent sources. Some of the names that reportedly appear on the list include prominent ANC veterans, wealthy business tycoons with strong political networks, and provincial leaders who have been accused of stealing millions through overpriced state contracts. Even an investigative reporter went so far as to hint that people in President Sir Ramaphosa's inner circle might be implicated, though these assertions are unsubstantiated. Nevertheless, the mere proposal has heightened national unease, suggesting that corruption pervades much further into the higher echelons of government than South Africans have been led to believe. As the leak went viral online, social media exploded. Hashtags like #92names, #honorists, and #cleanupgovernment trended on all major social media platforms, a nation both outraged and vindicated. For most citizens, this is long-awaited justice knocking on power doors. On Facebook and Twitter, South Africans insisted that the entire list should be released. One of the viral posts said, "We've been robbed for years. Now we want to see every name on that list. No more secrets." Protest organizations soon organized countrywide protests, including marching to the union buildings in Pretoria and provincial government premises, calling for unconditional resignations and the disclosure of all by the ANC leadership. In the midst of the escalating unrest, President Ramaphosa is at the center of a historic test of leadership. His office issued a short statement calling on the people to be patient and let due process run its course. But his critics allege he is doing it on purpose to give his supporters protection. Political commentators cautioned that the crisis would further split the ANC, exacerbating the already perilous divisions between the opposing camps. If Ramaphosa moves against his own supporters firmly, he ends up distancing his own people. Political analyst Leo Matiba clarified. But if he remains quiet, he'll look complicit, and that might be the end of his presidency. Either way, the stakes have never been higher. The NPA, for its part, maintains that outright arrests could be made in weeks with the compilation of the individual case files and the issuance of the warrants. Sources in the Hawks, the country's top anti-corruption unit, verify that specialized task forces have already been dispatched in several provinces to ensure that priority suspects are unable to leave the country or destroy evidence. If these claims are true, South Africans may soon see a spate of high-profile arrests of some of the country's most familiar names in national politics. Legal analysts caution, though, that should the current or former ministers be brought to court, it might trigger a constitutional crisis, pushing South Africa's legal and political institutions to their limits as never before. Within Latuli House, damage control activities have allegedly gone into top gear. The ANC spokesperson officially denounced the leak as an orchestrated attempt by political rivals to destabilize the party before the 2026 elections. But the critics say the excuses no longer ring true with the people. You can call it a conspiracy every time the truth comes out. One retired ANC veteran was quoted by reporters as saying the citizens want answers. In the National Executive Committee, NEC, things are reportedly at boiling point, with some groups calling for total cooperation with the investigators while others insist on an in-house investigation to manage the story and limit reputational fallout. While the party is having trouble coming across as united, plain South Africans are left wondering whether the leaders of their nation have integrity and what the future of their democracy looks like. Civil society groups and anti-graft vigilantes are calling for total transparency, calling on the NPA to disclose the list to regain trust in the justice system. For years, political elites have acted above the law, one activist exclaimed in a televised interview. If the NPA desires to demonstrate it is for justice, this is the time. Most citizens concur, asserting that any effort to hide the names would weaken further the public trust in the government and law enforcer institutions. It is also being monitored by international observers. A number of diplomatic sources have been said to voice concern over the possible effect on regional stability, considering South Africa as a prominent political and economic force in the continent. Market analysts forecast that markets might respond vigorously to the news upon the actual process of formal arrest, considering the lack of clarity over the leadership of the country. Even with the upheaval, some analysts believe the scandal, if embraced openly, could eventually make South Africa's democratic system stronger by demonstrating that even the most entrenched can be brought to book. At home, the atmosphere among the public is a combustible blend of rage, expectation, and guarded optimism. Grassroots organizations in Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Durban are organizing candlelight processions and public forums on corruption, a sign of increasing demand for civic participation. For others, it is not only a scandal, but a reckoning for political betrayal over the years and economic inequality. For some, it might be a watershed moment, an opportunity for the country to purge itself of deep-seated corruption and start afresh. For others, the fear is that it will turn into another cycle of promises and political scandals. South Africa is at a crossroads in its history. If these 92 arrest warrants are followed through with actual prosecutions and convictions, the operation might be the most sweeping anti-corruption purge in the nation's democratic history. But if the process becomes manipulated or mired under red tape and political spin, it might instead reveal the full depth of systemic decay and annihilate what remains of public confidence in government. The coming weeks will not only decide the fate of the ANC, but will also try the integrity of South Africa's justice system, leadership, and democracy itself. Would you expect these arrests to lead to real accountability, or will this become another scandal that dies away in silence? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update as this historical saga unfolds. Because one thing is certain, the walls are closing in. And for the first time in a very long time, the truth is no longer afraid to knock on the doors of power.